your own.
Different kinds of teachers.
Yeah, yeah.
I like Hanuman.
Maybe this will be Guruji's second backup.
Oh.
Back cup. Do you want me to go into your article?
You could say Usha's maybe a few big things that could be done, but Usha's she's going to have much stress.
You can check the camera, sure it's okay. It's working. We have our hymnals. That's good. You want to sit more comfortably over here? Just over here. Yeah, so I think he'll be behind you there. Sure. All right. Here.
After 10, we're
You
there.
cushion, or are you more comfortable? You can also roll it up for you. Oh, that's fine. Jai Guru. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Mangalam Gurudevaya Devye Madhurikshya Mangalam Mangalam Bhakta Vrindevyo Sarva Lokaya Mangalam Om Stapakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarva Dharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Mangalam Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Ashmarachara Prayantam Vande Gurum Paramvaram. So we're picking up where we left off in June, I think June 18th.
Wow.
It's been a while since we did the Bhagavatam. Do you remember where we were? What was the last
No.
one? They made such an impression on you.
I know, no, he was still a little boy.
Ah, yes, Krishna the little boy. So we're reading from the 10th skanda, Srimad Bhagavatam. We're in the Bala Lila of Krishna's childhood pastime. And he had, we had read the Damodar Lila, where he has, as a naughty boy, was tied to the mortar, and then, what's it called? And then remember he knocked down 2 trees. And then it told the backstory of the 2 Guhyakas. These were the sons of Kubera, right? And who were frolicking with their lady friends, either wives or girlfriends, or apsaras or something like that. They were bathing naked in a river when Narada happened to come by, and the women covered themselves up a little bit by nature a little bit bashful, but also scared of a curse of Narada, right? But the 2 these Nalakubara and Manigriva, they were what's it called? they were intoxicated, they were drunk, and they didn't pay attention. But the commentaries say they're drunk on wine, but they're drunk on power and money and comfort, because they were the sons of Kubera, right? But Kubera also, he got his position by the boon of Lord Shiva, so they're actually devotees of Lord Shiva. So they're great, but naturally, somebody gets a lot of power, a lot of money, a lot of comfort, then a little bit delusion can easily, a little bit or a lot of delusion can come, and so a little bit intoxicated by that, they misbehave very much so. But Narada, he actually said, and then there's my favorite line, he was actually thinking, they're actually great souls, these two Guhyakas, right? They're semi-divinities, they're a category of a higher being. They're the sons of Kubera, who's one of the Dikpalas, very important personality. They're devotees, great devotees of Lord Shiva, right? But due to money, they became money is the Bible says money is the source of all evil, right? It can delude the mind easily. You need to be careful. So he decided, I'm going to bless them. Narada only gives blessings, but I shall bless them by cursing them. Right? This is a unique thing. So he says, because you were uncovered like this, may you spend thousands of years naked standing there. Right? May you be born as Arjuna trees, these two types of medicinal trees, for yugas and yugas. Right? And so you come to your, and actually he made the commentary or his own, Narada Muni's own description. He says, actually that by losing everything, they'll appreciate. Again, they'll come to their senses. By losing their power, by losing, smoke in your face, okay? By losing their money, they a little bit of course, it's not glorifying poverty or wishing poverty on anybody, but wishing humility and spiritual consciousness, because they're actually great beings that they had forgotten. So actually, we can put ourselves carefully as in the same position. We're also maybe in the past we're great beings, but it was due to some mistake, the mind goes down, right? And you can see even in a day, the mind can go down, or in a month, or in a life, the mind can go down. 1 minute, yeah. There's a nice, Hariguru Shankaracharya, he makes a nice example. He says, like, if you take a metal ball, heavy metal ball, and you're moving it up the staircase, like on a tower, click, bump, bump, one by one. This is called our spiritual practice, life, day after day, morning after morning, year after year, life after life, right? But when you're almost to the top, or anywhere along the way, if you let go for a second, what happens? Boom, 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 all the way down, right? So when that happens, you have to jump and grab before, because once it gets up past it, it's going to go all the way. So this is what happened. They were very great, but they were behaving like the worst debauchee, something like that. It's a word that I've read but not spoken, so this is a problem. Like anyway. Debauchee or something. They became, although great, so like that they lost everything. So he wanted them to regain out of his mercy. He's like in Narada Muni, he's not thinking, oh, who's offended me, why aren't they behaving properly, I shall curse them. There is a sage like that too, that's Durvasa. But even Durvasa, he makes a great statement, my curses are only blessings. They're more, already all of you would have been cursed for something. You're not sitting properly, you're sitting too properly, something. Like, what, you think you're the great Swami? Like this. What, now you think you're so humble? But that also has its power, right? A blessing, a curse of a sage is also a blessing. But Narada Muni is not that type. He's not an angry sage. He's a joyful sage, right? Narayan is chanting the Lord's name, spreading the Lord's work. But also, he also spreads mischief in all the stories, right? So he's a bit of a troublemaker. So this is something he gave a curse. But that's one of my favorite lines in this whole section. Is in order to I desire to bless them, therefore I shall curse them, right? And so they were cursed to be born as these trees, Arjuna trees. We mentioned months back that the Arjuna tree itself is a medicinal Ayurvedic tree, and its skin, it has bark, kind of like a eucalyptus type of bark, like that really feathery type, that's really soft eucalyptus, something like that. And so what happened, it's constantly being stripped, right? And the bark is being used for teas and medicines, right? So it's also usually curses match the crime, right? They're sitting there, but as soon as they get a little bit of covering, somebody comes and strips them naked again, So it's always, there's some matching thing. So, anyway, but the curse was, may you be born for so long, but eventually, you see, Lord Vishnu will take birth as Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna will take birth, right? And he says, and he, as a child, will liberate you from this condition, right? So they're there for thousands of years, but they're thousands of years waiting. Think about that. They're waiting for Krishna, right? Waiting for Vishnu. So I mean, that's quite a bit, because they regained their consciousness. They didn't just become trees, right? They kept their deva consciousness, you could say, right? So meditating thousands of years of meditation. So in that position, their original knowledge came back, and maybe even sometimes a little bit of repentance makes you take up, even greater realization than before. So eventually, in the story that this is a little inserted into the Damodar Leela, Lord Krishna has been naughty and been tied. Of course, remember that story where Yashoda tried to tie him and he kept coming short by 2 fingers, and very sweet. And then actually very emotional. It says that you think about this infinite supreme Lord, the source of everything, the cause of everything, right? The beginning and end of everything, and he has no beginning or end. Yet he can be tied by some cowherd girl, right, out of devotion. So it's glorifying. It's his supremacy, and the quality of devotion can capture and bind. That's the main story. This will be tied into this story also. So while he's tied up, and Mother Yashoda finally got him tied up nicely. And I think maybe you get in trouble in this American culture if you tie your children to kitchen appliances as a form of discipline, but it's in the Vedic literature, so it must be okay. So when again he was not finished doing what he's doing, he was just thinking, seeing those 2 trees up in there. Of course, he's omniscient. He knows. He was one of the reasons he was born is to liberate those 2 trees, right? Those 2, right? It's one of the purposes of his incarnation. But the story goes, he's in a playful childhood mood. He says, those trees, they're so just far, they're growing very near each other, but I bet you I could fit. Right? So let me try it. There he goes. And of course, a big grinding mortar just pops behind him as if nothing. Remember, this is the boy who will eventually lift up a mouth and use his finger, or his pinky, so grinding mortar is nothing. And then he climbs through, and he goes, oh, it worked, I could fit. I remember a little kid thinking like that, I wonder if I can climb up there. And he goes, and all of a sudden, he gets a little pull, and the trees come crashing down. It's a simple thing. But then out of that comes 2 divine beings, right? Nilakubera and Manikdevi. And so now they've regained, they've never lost their consciousness. They spent thousands of years meditating on Krishna. And in those bodies, they've already witnessed so much of Krishna's Leela. Right? So actually, they probably, some sadhus have commented that actually being liberated was almost sad for them. Because then, because there's no place for 4-armed devas living in Vrindavan. That's not the mood of Vrindavan, right? But they were, in the guise of these trees, they were able to witness all Krishna's childhood sport and pastime. Very sweet, right? But so they've already witnessed so much, right? And of course, waiting for that moment when they be liberated from this form. And liberated from this form, there's of course in the yogic tradition, there's many types of liberation. Liberation means different things. And this also, being liberated from the form of a tree, is also considered a metaphor for ultimate liberation, or regaining our spiritual position, our original position. Of course, in the story, the original position was some sort of a deva, right? So that's not exactly, but it's a symbolic thing of regaining what's been lost for so long. So when they start praying, can't say last week, last June, right? They prayed, and in our discussions, we only got the first verse. In the hymns we got there, we only got the first. The first one was very philosophical. They're all very philosophical. The first one was very, very nice. It says Krishna, Krishna, mahāyogiṁs, right? So Krishna, Krishna, and then the great Yogi. And the great Yogi, of course, he's great. And Yogi here means mystical, somebody with great power, right? And also, they had witnessed all Krishna's miraculous deeds, right? Even the cowherd children, the cowherd women, his foster father and mother, they had witnessed, but they didn't see them as miracles, right? They saw, oh my God, Krishna, our little boy, got in some danger, and by God's grace, by Vishnu's grace, his life was saved. Not thinking that these are all miraculous things, but they have. Remember, they've been waiting for this. They know they're lucky. Actually, we're also a little bit, in a sense, lucky. We're also looking at these stories, this knowledge of who he is, right? But maybe that's our disqualification if we think, because we know that Yashoda and Nanda prayed to be the parents of Krishna without knowing he's God, right? So maybe us knowing, or some whatever knowing he's God, we believing that he's God, or having that insight into the text, into the story, it adds something as well as we lose something also. But Krishna mahāyogi, right? Tvam ādyaḥ puruṣah paraḥ. You are that ādyaḥ puruṣah, adi puruṣah, the original person, the original being. And actually, we didn't go into, but actually, by ādyaḥ puruṣah means these hymns are going to use a lot of the language of Sankhya, this puruṣah prakriti, right? In the first verse, he only mentions puruṣah. The next verse will mention him as, or the third verse will mention him as prakriti also, like this. It's using the language of Sankhya. Tvam ādyaḥ puruṣah paraḥ. You are that supreme, transcendent being, the reality from which everything. You're the original person, or you are that person from which everything originates, right? The supreme consciousness. And then we spent a lot of time. I think we gave like 25 different definitions of vyakt and avyakt. That was why the class took. We only got one verse into it. Vyaktāvyaktam, right? You are vyakt and avyakt. Vyakt means describable, or speakable, or conceivable, right? Or thinkable, and you are avyakta, undescribable, unspeakable, unthinkable, unconceptual, conceivable, inconceivable. And we spent a lot of that by nature the divine is completely inconceivable. Yet it's infinite, it's beyond conception. It's by its definition. Actually, one of the definitions, even a classical Christian definition by Saint Anselm, is that the being by which nothing greater can be conceived. Nothing, you can't even. That's God's definition. Right? So what can be said, but still we can think about God. We can think about Him. We can think about her, and partially because we attribute. I don't have the verses in front of me. The famous Sanskrit verse I recited last week, describing that kalpana, is that in order to worship Brahman, right, a form is attributed to it, right? Rūpa kalpana, something like that in the verse, right? And so one thing we can do, we're trying to conceptualize something that's inconceivable, so we give it a form, we give it a name, right? Or it reveals itself in a form or a name out of mercy to make itself, even though God is inconceivable, He makes Himself conceivable, right? He presents Himself, He reveals Himself, which is actually more attuned to Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, that God shows Himself in different ways, that all the different religions, all the different forms of divinity, one view, and that's very open-minded, it's just all people different people of all different cultures and different times trying to think of God, and they made up all these different stories about God in order to think about God. It's still open-minded, it gives value, but God is not made in our. It could be what Sri Ramakrishna said. God has revealed Himself in all the different religions and all the different forms, in order for Him us to conceive, to meditate upon Him. So vyaktāvyaktam idam viśvaṁ rūpaṁ te brāhmaṇā viduḥ. Right. This rūpa, your truth, your essence, is known by the knowers of Brahman. So it's immediately giving. So who is this Krishna? What are they saying? So you are the adi puruṣah, but you're also using the Vedantic term Brahman. Right. And so actually, the Bhagavatam has many schools of thought mixed into it. Right. Like the Gita pulls together so many different philosophies and schools of thought. The Bhagavatam does so in a different way. So the main big schools, there's Vedanta, right, the idea of Brahman, right? You have Sankhya, which is puruṣah and prakriti, and the evolutes of prakriti, and the gunas, right? And it's constantly used in that language, right? And it also has Tantra. Sometimes it overtly says, there's a tantric way to worship me, there's a Vedic way to worship me. But here by Tantra, it's saying that because in Sankhya, puruṣah and prakriti are categorically different, eternally different realities, the dualistic system. Right? And in Vedanta, in Advaita Vedanta, Brahmana alone exists, there's no second. Right? So sometimes we use that language, right? But for you to give a simple definition or a simple description of tantric worldview, is that Purusha and Prakriti, right, spirit and nature are both spiritual. They're both actually one being. Right? It's not like in Vedanta, Purusha exists, Prakriti doesn't exist. In Sankhya, Purusha exists and Prakriti exists, but they're different. But in Tantra, Purusha and Prakriti, they're both aspects of the same being, the same reality, aspects of Brahman. So it's using this language. So this term, Brahmane, viduḥ, those who know Brahman, they know which are form. This form, which is described as the Adi Purusha and the vyaktāvyaktam. Right, so that's what we left. Quickly caught up. Before we went to discussions about skulls and heads strung on entrails and corpse hair, which is our on the Kali Sasana. Very, very nice stuff. Very, very nice. And we'll go back to Vrindavan with the cows and the tulsi and the flowers for a little bit before Halloween comes. Then we get in the mood again. Right. So the next verse is verse 30. We're I forgot to mention we're in book Skanda 10, chapter 10, and starting verse 30. Tvam ekaḥ sarvabhūtānāṁ. Forgot to break it up. dehāsvātmendriyeśvaraḥ. Tvam kālo bhagavān viśṇur ādyaḥ. Also, these verses are actually fairly easy to say. Sometimes they're very complicated. These are because they're meant to be. These are recited. These are hymns, not teachings and narrative. You know. So tvam ekaḥ sarvabhūtānāṁ. So we know tvam, you. So actually, this will be each one of these lines will be tvam. You are this. You are this. You are this. The last one, the previous is tvam ādyaḥ puruṣah paraḥ. Here, tvam ekaḥ sarvabhūtānāṁ. Right. Tvam ekaḥ. You are one. Or you are the one, or you are the only, right? You're the one and only. You alone. All these ekaḥ. Tvam ekaḥ sarvabhūtānāṁ. You are the only one that exists in sarvabhūtānāṁ, all beings. Right? Just like Yadevi sarvabhūteshu, saying sarvabhūtānāṁ, saying right? In the Chandi, Yadevi sarvabhūteshu means that goddess that exists in all beings. Here is that one. You are the one that exists in all. Sarvabhūta, and sarva means all. Bhuta means being. Bhuta has different meanings. Bhuta means beings as in all living beings, both moving and non-moving. Right. Bhuta means spirits like ghosts. Right. And Bhuta means elements like earth, fire, water, air, like that. And so also because of the language of Sankhya that's being used, this meaning is also implied. You become the sarvabhūtas, the 5 elements, or the 9 elements, or the 5 elements, the 5 gross elements: earth, fire, water, ether. Then you have the 3 subtle elements. We mentioned the Gita also as mind, intellect, and ego sense, manas, buddhi, ahamkara. Or the sarvabhūtas are the full evolutes in the Sankhya system, from Prakriti to Mahat to ahamkara to manas to gyanendriyas. You can interpret this way. But the simple, that's a secondary meaning I think is implied because of the way it fits into the rest of the verses. But in this verse, the primary meaning we have to understand is you exist in all beings, including them, right? Including you, including me, and you. So you're the only one that exists. How do they exist? How does he exist? So in the Chandi, Yadevi sarvabhūteshu says vriddhi rūpena samsthita, shakti rūpena samsthita, daya rūpena samsthita, chaya rūpena samsthita, kshama rūpena samsthita, in the form of all these different aspects of consciousness, manifestation, the form of hunger, in the form of thirst, the form of happiness, the form of modesty, in the form of confusion, the form of motherhood, in the form of like this. So here, it's described. What are the? Let me actually. I'm working. I actually have notes. I should look at them. I tried to make them big enough that I could read them, which helps. Where are we here? Dehas. So that word that I didn't split it up in the. I forgot when I was typing out the Devanagari to put the breaks so it's easy to see. Deha, Ashu, Atma, Indriya, Ishvara. Right. So instead of Chaitana, buddhi, Krishna, tripti, shakti. In the yanda, this is given. This is a very simple, not as elaborate description. This is a very tangible description, right? So first is deha. Deha means body. Right? You exist. So you could say you exist in all bodies, or you exist as all bodies, right? You know, however you want to think like this. You know, deha, ashu. Ashu means asu. Asu means air, which means breath, right? So in the body, in prana, this is pranamaya kosha, like this, right? Atma. Atma means the self, right? Indriya. Indriya means the senses, right? And Ishvara. Indriya means controller, right? And so this could mean you are the one who's you Ishvara, God, exists as the one in all beings, as the body, the prana, the atma, and the senses. Or it could be, right? You are also that's also a way of saying our individual, the one that our sense that controls, right? You are both the controller, you know, as Paramatma, or you are a Jivatma. It can be like that. dehāsvātmendriyeśvaraḥ. Tvam eva kālo bhagavān. Right? Tvam eva, you are also kālo. Kālo means time. Right? So this is also, Krishna says, I am time, the destroyer of worlds. Right? Mahākāla, Mahākāli. Right? And so this is actually one thing we could say, what is God? God is time. God is destiny. God is fate. Right? The movement of things. That's one thing, you know, so in that sense God is a controller, you know, like, but another sense, kala also means that which is moving, right? And what's the opposite of which is moving, which is the realm of the deha and the ashu and the indriyas, right? Is the opposite of that is the nitya, the eternal, right? And so kala also could last forever. Right, so it's not everlasting. That's not what it's meant. Although you're the movement of time continues, ever changing, ever pushing forward, adjusting movement of time. But you're also, it will go into it. You're also the nitya. Uses a different word actually. You are unchanging, right? But so you are the changing, and you are the unchanging. Remember, this is all language of Samkhya. You are the atma, the buddhi, the gyanendriyas, the tattvas, the bhutas, and you are. So these are all aspects of prakriti. Moving aspects of time and movement. You are tvam eva kālo bhagavān viśṇur. Right, Bhagavan, and the next line, Vishnu. Right. So you are that blessed Lord, Bhagavan. You are Vishnu. So in other words, so everybody else is thinking, oh Vishnu, please save my son Krishna. He's in so much danger. So many bad luck things keep happening to him. Right. But they're not, and they're thinking like already he went outside and. Two giant trees. I mean, a few months ago, when we hear a crack, we run outside. The trees fell across the street. I mean, which devas got released? All this time for to Kali Mandir to be built here. Something. What happened? You never know. With the backstory of every one of these plants. Right? You never know. But they were thinking, oh my God, oh Vishnu, oh Indra, oh gods, please, this all my son almost got yet again another almost near accident, not knowing that he's the one that caused it, and he was, but they know, that you are not, you are a little boy, you're not a normal little boy, you're a mahāyogi, you're puruṣah, you are ekaḥ, tvam ekaḥ, sarvabhūtānāṁ, you are the one being, and you're the one that exists in everything, the one as everything or in everything, right? You are Vishnu himself. You are Bhagavan Vishnu. Bhagavan Vishnu, avyaya ishvaraḥ. Here, this word avyaya. Avyaya means unchanging, undecaying, imperishable, eternal. Another word saying it's eternal. Something that's unchanging, immutable, unperishable. That was the way of saying it's eternal, right? So you are Kala, O Bhagavan Vishnu. You are that one. You are time, and you are timelessness. You are the eternal. You are the world of name and form, ever changing, right? Yet you exist as sarvabhūteshu, right? And you are the ādipurusha. You are the eternal, unchanging reality, the transcendent being behind. So that's a very big statement, right? And nice, beautifully said these two verses, right? tvam, what is the next one? Tvam mahan pakritik tvam mahan pakritihi shukshmaha raj sattva tamomayi tvam eva puruṣodyakshaha sarvakshetra viparavit. Very nice. So tvam mahan pakriti suksham. You are, what are you are? It says pakriti. You are nature. Right? Pakriti can be your nature, but here is using puruṣah. Now it's pakriti. You are also pakriti, right? And I think of how did I try to add it? Because shukshma means subtle, and mahan means great, right? So it could be one way of translating it is the subtle aspect. You are the subtle aspects of that, or you are the subtle aspect of that mahapakriti. So one of the names of pakriti is mahapakriti or mula pakriti, the foundation of pakriti or the great pakriti, right? Right. It could be also. You are also mahan has a word. Mahan is a similar word as para, and para pakriti and shukra pakriti. Para pakriti means the causal body, and shukshma pakriti means shukshma sharira. Shukshma pakriti means the causal body, subtle body, causal body and subtle body. So it could be you are both the subtle body and the causal body. You are very gross and very subtle aspects of nature. Or it could also be, in some translations have it as in Sankhya they use the term Pakriti is the first evolute of in Pakriti the first evolute is Mahat. Right? So that you are Mahat Pakriti. Right? You're also, which is most subtle. Right? But exactly because it starts very subtle, Mahat Pakriti is purely sattvic, and therefore it becomes manifest in our body as intellect. And then intellect gets mixed a little bit, it becomes amkara, and that becomes manas, one of those orders, I forget, right? And then mixed with the different tattva, different gunas, then it becomes the gyanindriyas, and it ends up the gyanindriyas and the karmindriyas, and eventually becomes the tattvas themselves, right? So the grossest is the physical things, and the subtlest is this mahat, right? Which is it's the most spiritual aspect of Prakriti. Prakriti from the very first manifestation, most subtle. So that could be, and very likely because of the language, because it's used in the language of Sankhya, is Mahat Prakriti Shukshma. You are that subtle beginning, most spiritual aspect of Prakriti. Right? That's the problem, is that at that level, this level is, when we study the evolutes of Prakriti in Sankhya, or in Tantra has a little different, a different list. But ultimately it starts with Prakriti, with puruṣah Prakriti. Prakriti then becomes Mahat, Amkara, Manas, and then the Gyanindriyas, and all the way down to the elements. So that's how the one becomes many, how Prakriti evolves, how nature evolves. But as sadhaks, we're trying to reverse that evolution, or I guess evolution that we want, involution, right? And so we could trace our way through meditations. First, what do you do in yoga? First, you pranayama. First, you control your diet, and you try to get yourself to stretch more than this. Bit by bit, you're working with the tattvas, with the elements, right? And then with prana, and slowly, hopefully, then you can try to control the mind. And so as you go higher and higher, you want to get to that mahat state. That's a very illumined state, but it's still in Prakriti. Right, so it's a very using that language I think is important. Mahat tvam mahan pakritik shukshmaha raja sattva tamomayi. So now you are, what is that pakriti? That subtle pakriti. It is mayi means full. It is full of, or built of, consisting of raja sattva tama. Right, Raja Sattva Tamomayi. That you are that Prakriti which is made of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Right. So actually, in the previous verses, you are puruṣah. Now, but you are also Prakriti. Showing it's using the language of it's using the. Can I have a little more? A little bit. Using the language of Sankhya, but it's doing it in a very tantric way. You are puruṣah and you are Prakriti. You are the unchanging, you are the changing one. You are the original, and you are the one that came after the original, the one that evolves. Right. Raja, Sattva, and so you now you are the three gunas. You become this world with three gunas, which means everything. Of course, this is a group that knows the gunas are sattvas and tamas. We don't have to describe. But interesting, we think in nature the gunas are, everything is in one of is primarily one guna, but mixed with the others, right? So nothing's pure. But the gunas also represent three aspects of Ishvara. By saying you are the world that's made of the gunas, you're also the gunas. You are the gunas, right? So. Right. So in like. This is Rajas. Rajas is Vikshepa Shakti, the power to project. So like that, it's intrinsic. Intrinsic is intrinsic within one of the things is to project. So Rajas, you can say, Rajas is not pure. Right, or sattva, only sattva is pure. God's all sattva. What about tamas? What about rajas? Or rajas, if you want a universe that projects, that's by rajaguna, right? That's this vikshepa shakti. Sattva guna is jnana shakti. Jnana shakti means that which liberates, right? Which sees the one behind everything, right? So it's liberating knowledge, right? The power to reveal, right? And tama is avarana shakti, that which covers, puts everything. It's also necessary. Remember, a couple weeks ago, we were in the Devi Gita verse that avarana and one of the qualities of Ishvara is to cover and to reveal, anugraha and like this, right? So in the same way, you are the three gunas. You are your power. These powers, you create the world through the power of the three gunas, but also you are the gunas. So we also say gunamayi, gunashre, gunamayi. Srishti Siddhi Vinashanam Shakti Bhuti Sharanajit Enartha Paditrana Parayani Gunashre Gunamayi Narayani Namosati. It means you project, you are the power of the three gunas, and you are the three gunas. You project the world, and you're that world that you create. Right? Sri Ramakrishna gave the example of a spider and its web. Right? Where did the web come from? It comes from the spider. Right? It comes out of the navel or something, the mouth, I don't know. Tucker uses that word, the navel of the navel, nabi, something like that. Tucker uses that language, right? And he says, so what does he do? The spider creates a web out of its own, and what does he do after that? He lives inside the web. Right? So like God creates this world, and then he inhabits the world that he's created. Right? So through the gunas you create this world of prakriti, right? But you're also in this world of prakriti, because you are ekaḥ, tvam, ekaḥ, sarvabhūtānāṁ. Right, you exist in this world of the body and the mind and the senses and soul and the controller, like that. Tvam Raja Sattva Tvam eva puruṣah ādyaḥ. Right, so you are Tvam maha prakriti shukshma. You are that subtle prakriti that's made of Rajas, Tamas, Sattva, and Tvam eva puruṣah ādyaḥ. And you are again puruṣah. You are prakriti, you are puruṣah, right? And what is the definition of puruṣah here is ādyaḥ. Ādyaḥ means, actually it has a few meanings. It's usually mean here is as the witness or the observer, right? But also has a name of like the boss, the supervisor, right? Because actually, like at work, you have a supervisor. Supervisor is the one in control of everything, but he's just watching. He's the witness. That's the one who can just sit there and watch and gets paid more to watch instead of work. That's the supreme position, right? That's by definition. Right? So ādyaḥ. So here it's a double word. You are puruṣah, you are prakriti in all its evolutions, and you're the one observing it. But by saying that, you're the boss. You're controlling it. You're both the controller and the witness, right? The same meaning to that. It means controller, supervisor, witness, that which is visible. You're a director, like that. So that gives that idea, because in the language of Sankhya and the language of Bhagavatam gave this beautiful example. Well, I don't remember the story where it's from. I remember the example stuck in my head. The story I don't remember. Right? It's describing Purusha and Prakriti. He says like that God is Purusha is like the sun that shines on snow. Right? So the sun simply is shining. It's not doing anything. Right? but because of the sun on the snow begins to melt and becomes a river. So it's actually the sun is only the witness of the river. It's only shining, right, illuminating, right? But because of it, it's the one making the river flow, although it's not doing anything. So like the Prakriti moves, right? It's in the light of Purusha, but that light of Purusha makes Prakriti move, right? So that's the idea. And in the image, more tantric image of Shiva and Shakti, Shiva is Purusha, right? When he, in the stories you mentioned that last week also, when he opens his eyes and sees Ma as Prakriti, right, as Devi, then everything begins to melt, right? And you see Shiva by himself in Kailash is covered in snow, closes his eyes, and it becomes snow. Everything freezes because the tension is withdrawn from matter, right? But Devi's job in the stories is to get Shiva to engage in her, right? I mean, she does also austerity to get Shiva to marry her, right? And all the stories, there's Sati, there's Parvati, and all these sub-stories, right? To get Shiva to pay attention, to look, right, at Prakriti. Because just looking, then she becomes rivers and trees and forests and rainforests and children and flowers and and then nature begins to move again. That's her job. So this is kind of thing. You are that tvam eva puruṣo ādyaḥ. You are sarva kshetra vikara vit. Sarva kshetra vikara vit. Sarva kshetra vikara means to vibrate, right? Like nirvikara, savikara, Brahman, this type of stuff. Movement is vikara. So you are vikara vit. You are the seer, the observer of all movement. Right? So that's another thing, like Purusha is a witness of your Prakriti, now your Purusha is a witness of all. And it's just sarva kshetra. So sarva means all, kshetra means field. Right? And so the simple meaning is what is like this whole world of Prakriti is the field of knowledge. And Gita uses that language of kshetra and chetagna. Right? The field and the knower of the field. Right? So the field is the body and the soul is the knower of the field. This world is the field. Vishnu is the knower of the field. Uses this type of language, right? Of the difference between observer and observed, right? What is the field of consciousness or the object of consciousness? So you are the knower of everything. Sarva Kshetra. You are the one knowing. But also Kshetra also in the Gita, the body is Kshetra, right? And so we know this body a little bit, kind of. So you can see I'm the Kshetra Jnana, or the but you are the knower of all bodies, right? So it's like we are the knower of this body, but you are the knower of all bodies, right? So the difference between Jivatma and Paramatma is another way of saying, right? And also the Kshetra means field, it means body. But field also has this idea of a farm, right? And even if you look up in the dictionary, one of the meanings is a farm, that type of field also, Kshetra. And so again, is this idea that by witnessing the field, you create life and you bring prosperity, right? Purusha, when he gazes or engages in Prakriti becomes prosperous, becomes fertile, right? Purusha, without Purusha, Prakriti is not fertile, right? Or fertile, but it's not. There's no conception in the fertile field. You could say it like that. It's using that Purusha Prakriti image. So where are we? Tvam mahan prakriti shukshmaha raja sattva tamomayi tvam eva purusho ādyaḥ sarva kshetra vikaravit. Grihya manais tvam agraho. That was a little more tongue twister. Maybe I looked up on this one. Yeah, so let's pull out the words. Grihya. Grihya means something that's grabbable, right? So grahi, griha, we say so it's something grabbable. So it usually refers to, or conceivable. It's another way of saying it, grabbable by the mind, right? Holdable, right? And it usually refers to the body, right? But it also means it's a word that's used often in the text to refer to like domestic life, or one who's conscious of worldly activities. We say samsara or something like that, right? So here it says griha manasyaiva, manasva, which means the mind, one who's conscious, one who thinks of, one who's conscious of the body, or by extension, one who's engaged in worldly life, right? So, where is it? Sorry, here. Grihyam manais tvam agrahyo. You are ungrabbable, uncatchable by those whose minds are caught in either who are holding the body or holding the world, right? This one meaning. Another meaning, which I think is the one I gave here, by those whose bodies and minds are agitated by the viduḥ. But this is the idea. So the one whose mind or whose body, or one who's conscious of the body, or who's conscious of the world, those are the meanings. Vikara pakritira gunahe, whose vikara again, whose mind, whose pakriti, vikara, one whose mind or whose body or whose worldly thinking or bodily consciousness is constantly being shaken by the gunas of pakriti, by the three gunas of all the qualities of pakriti. So that's pretty much all of us. Our minds are agitated, right, by our bodies and minds are agitated by the gunas of pakriti. It says, but you cannot be grabbed, you cannot be grasped by those whose minds are agitated. And why are they agitated? Because we're grasping the body, we're grasping the world, worldly. Because if the mind's outside, even the body's outside, right? Then it's constantly the pakriti is constant. Pakriti means constantly changing, right? And therefore, if the mind is conscious of that which is constantly changing, the mind will constantly be in flux, right? And when the mind constantly in flux, he's saying you can't be grabbed, you can't be comprehended, right? So this is they were in that state, right? When they were cursed to be trees in their previous life, right? But they've had a lot of time to meditate over what's gone, right? And so hopefully the idea is that they're speaking from their own realization. They're not just quoting text, right? That their mind has become very, therefore they can know a little bit of who he is, right? Although they said you are vyaktāvyaktam, so you're unknowable, but still, how can we know anything about you if the mind's unstable? So that's it. Vikara pakriti gunaha. Ko, actually the Sutta word is this ko, I don't know how to pronounce NV without a vowel, but that's what it says in Sanskrit. Right? Ko, I lost it. Yeah, so the way, I tell you what the words are in the Sandhi. The words are kaha, nu, iha, right? So ka means like ko, or ka means what, right? So what, na iha, like what then now, the way of saying it. So in other words, like those you cannot be comprehended, you cannot be grasped by those whose minds are agitated by the gunas of pakriti. Right. Therefore, how can we know you then? Right? How can normal people know you? Right? How did I translate it here? You are ungrasped by those whose bodies and minds are agitated by the gunas of pakriti. Who then can know you? Right. So if that's the case, practically speaking, it's like, how can we know you? So actually, you have to think. People claim. There's a lot of people who claim, right, on street corners to know who God is, and what God is, and what God's like, right? But this is a symptom, right? You can only be understood by one whose mind is not agitated by the gunas pakriti, right? Even there's big yogis and famous saints and things about traveling. Like this is the test, right? But who can know you? So now it says who can know you? Now it gets very specific. Let me find it here. Prak siddham guna samstrita. This is not an easy, the meaning is not obvious, right? Prak means before, right? Prak siddham means, siddha has many meanings, but prak siddha, you existed before, right? And then it says, guna sambrita. Sambrita means, that which is covered or conditioned by the gunas, right? You exist prior right? Praksiddham, you exist, or you have knowledge. You're antecedent to that which comes after. What that comes after? That which is controlled, manipulated, covered, conditioned, manifested by the gunas, right? So what's that saying? That so you are puruṣah, you are prakriti, but those of us, because you are. Now it's getting to a little bit Vedantic sense also, that what knows what, right? What that he's before creation. In other words, saying you existed before creation. Therefore, the creature cannot know the creator. It's in a different category. It's a partial category, right? You have an infinite creator and a partial creature, unconditioned creator and a conditioned creature. So or an unlimited infinite creator and a limited infinitesimal creature. How can that creature know the infinite? How can it know what existed before it? That's why the question actually, like where do I come from? Right? It's actually it makes sense. I mean that impels us to study philosophy and maybe get into religion. It's an impossible question. Even we use that language sometimes, and I also use that language. Like the Big Bang. People say the Big Bang. What happened before the Big Bang? Right? Nothing happened before the Big Bang because it doesn't make sense to say that. Because the Big Bang, if that theory is correct, is time and space started. So you can't say what happened before time started, right? It's not. It's a different. You can't know what happened before in the language of time and space. What happened before time and space, right? That language breaks down. It doesn't make sense to say that anymore, right? So if you can't be grasped by the mind shaken by prakriti, you can't be understood. Why? You can't be. What's the chance of understanding you, right? By anybody, any creature, right? Because. So there's a drishva. There's another in Vedanta we use this practice of the between the observer and the observed, right? So even this combination of this previous and like, if I see something, of course I can see something. That something is me, and then the thing I'm seeing. The thing I'm seeing is a secondary thing, right? And there's a difference between the observer and the observed. So in Vedanta, we say we look for the observer, not the observed. Look for the changeless, not the changeful. Look for the cause, not the effect. We look for the subtle, not the growth. Look for the pervasive, not the limit. These are ways, it's neti type process, right? They call it drishva viveka, the discrimination between the seer and the seen. This is one way of seeing. This is one thing is seer and seen, but it goes deeper than that. It's not only like we can see, we can't know if we take that principle of seeing or seen, what about the one who sees everything? Right? We may be seers in our little ways, but how can we know the one who sees us or sees through us? Right? So maybe the simple answer is we can't give up. Right? There's no chance to know God. This is a simple. Right? If you think about this, great. That makes my work much easier. I'm going to the movies. At least I can know the movie, no problem. That's secondary. But I can't. But the movie can't know me. Right? They keep example, and not to philosophically. The movie can't know the someone who's watching the movie. Right. That's what we can. But so, is there any chance to see? So actually, this is a very important in Vedanta. The very important philosophical question. There's many answers given. Like what's the proof of it? There's a famous. This is entered even popular culture. Where 10 people go to. They swim. There's no money for a boat, and they swim across the river, right? And so I think let's say I think we're all good swimmers. We can go. At the end, we'll make sure we didn't lose anybody. So at the end, they look everybody count everybody, right? And we all hear 10 of us. So it says I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Somebody drowned. No. Nobody drowned. We're all good swimmers. You count. And you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. Right. And then they start crying. Right. It's like, oh my God, they're lamenting somebody. They don't even know who they're crying for, but they're crying for somebody because every time they count, there's only 9 of them. Right. This is given in the Vedantic scriptures also. There's a famous example. Right. It's like so. The thing is, we're looking for the looker. Right, but we have to say, so somebody else in the story, somebody else comes and says, excuse me, brother, what's going on here? He says, oh, one of us has died. How do you know somebody died? There's 10 of us. The guy could, within a second, see that what happened. It's like, oh, okay. So let's try again. Count again. And the person goes 1, 2, 3, and as soon as he gets to 9, the person grabs a hand and goes, it says 10. You are the 10th person, right? The observer, the problem is we don't observe the observer. We don't touch the finger. The finger touches something else, right? So even the ability to know the world proves that we exist, right? The fact that a world exists proves that God exists. The observer has to be there, right? There's a principle there. Yeah? There's many examples. This is one that came to my mind immediately. I recently was thinking about these examples. Many examples are given how. The other one, I listened to a talk to Swami Bhajanananda recently at Vedanta Society, and he's quoting, I think maybe even the story, maybe that's why it's fresh in my mind, this one for sure. The same author of the, what's that famous Vedantic text, I'm forgetting just now. He says that sugar makes, like, how do you make something sweet, right? You add sugar to water and the water becomes sweet, right? So what about sugar? Right? How do you make sugar sweet? Right? Sugar makes everything else sweet. There's no way to make it. It itself is the thing that makes it sweet, right? So, like, everything is conscious. You add conscious to everything, everything exists. We see everything. How do you? But it's the very thing by what reality is given to Prakriti is the proof of puruṣah. That's the proof of sweetness. The sugar itself is its own proof, right? And we're looking at to make it an object. It can never be an object. That's the point. It can never be spirit. The self even, the small self even, with the speak of the infinite or Bhagavan, can never be an object of thinking, ādyaḥ, right? But there's still, how do you know the knower? That's the secret. So there's still a way.
That's the mystery of life.
What's that?
That's the mystery.
That's the mystery, right? So also, another way, so if in using the language of Sankhya, remind us of the language of yoga, right? And so that same thing is the one whose mind is agitated by Prakriti can't grasp you because you're like this, right? So they use the same language in the beginning of Yoga Sutra, right? Yogas chitta vritti nirodha, right? Yoga consists of the stilling of the vrittis, right? Normally our vrittis are agitated by Prakriti. Somehow know that we can still the vrittis. What happens, right? Then I think I scribbled it or typed it. Tada drashtuhu swarupa avishta sarupe vastanam, right? So then what happens when the chitta becomes still and not agitated, then the seer, the drashtuhu, the seer, swarupa, he exists in his own being, his own seat, right? Or it's swarupa also means his own nature, right? So his original form, right? So that's the thing, is that in the mind's completely still, not the mind, but the vrittis are still. Then what happens? It's not in the language of Prakriti, puruṣah Prakriti, and seer, and the object of vision, subject and object. Those can never be, But when the whole thing settles, the seer rests in his own existence, right? The person goes 10, right? The fact that you've counted to 10, the fact that the proof that the 10th exists is your counting of the 9. That's the thing, right? But that's philosophical proof, maybe, right? But if we have to think, okay, let's stop going outside and do this, right? Sudden flash of revelation, right? So it's the knowledge of the self, and therefore by extension the knowledge of God does not come. It comes from a moment of self-revelation, right? Shines by its own light. So the final verse here. What time is it? I'm doing pretty good. I can actually see this. This is unusual for me. Tasmay, what is it? Tasmay means to you, right? And the last line is namaha. So now I bow to you, right? Because in other words, in one sense, there's no hope, right? Because in an agitated mind, it's impossible to know, to grasp you. And another no hope is that you were never an object. You are prior to the object. You're the observer. You're the subject, not the object, right? Or the observer, not the observer. The seer, not the seen. So it's in one sense, there's no chance, right? So the simple thing to do, right, is go namo namaha, whoever, whatever you are, because you're obviously here, right? The fact that we're here means the fact that we're observing is like the fact that I think, therefore I am, right? Thinking is proof that you exist, right? You don't have to think, well, how do you know you exist? Actually, in Swami Bhajanananda, he mentioned the same thing. The final answer to by that sage was is like somebody, well, how do you know the self? There's no self. Then the objector, then I shouldn't even answer. You don't exist, Right? The fact that you exist is proof that you exist.
Right.
The fact that you question your existence is proof of existence, right? But so in one sense, the simple answer is just to you. We know you're there, and we worship you. But think about it. This is all very nice philosophy. It's a nice, well, not that nice, but some my complicated version of Sankhya philosophy and Vedanta philosophy. But these two devas who were person-born as trees, what are they seeing? Right? They're seeing Krishna. They know he's puruṣah, he's prakriti. Nobody can see you because you're the seer. Nobody can see, but they're seeing him.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one thing we were discussing.
Yeah.
Everything okay? One thing we were discussing this afternoon, I was talking with Adikesha, we were discussing. In the Bhagavatam, you notice it's a devotional text, right? But there's a lot of philosophy mixed in, right? And so, like a simple thing, I remember when Krishna was born, we waited, and finally, Krishna is finally born, after years, right? Years and years and years. Krishna's born. What happens? Before he enters the womb of the mother, then all the devas come up and start doing these prayers full of philosophy,
Right.
including Sankhya and Vedanta and this and Tantra and all this other stuff. So that's fine. So then Krishna is manifest, and immediately he gives a lecture on Sankhya philosophy, right? And then Devaki, she's now gives within her prayers all this abstruse philosophy, and then Vasudeva does the same thing, right? So it's like in a TV version, it's quick and beautiful, right? It takes, even if you want to read it through with no discussion, there's a little bit of Leela and a lot of philosophy, right? But there's a reason for that, because otherwise it's just a story of a little kid, right? No, you can think about it because the key to understanding is that Krishna tu bhagavan swayam, right? That this Krishna is not a normal person; he's himself God, right? And so, what does it mean? We don't know what that's. Oh, well, God, Krishna is God. That's a nice thing to say. What does that mean, right? We don't have the philosophical background, perhaps, to know what that means, right? But if you have to think, like in the tying of Krishna, he's the source of everything. He has no source. He's the limits of everything. He has no limits. He's the middle of everything. It's like, yet he was tied up, right? That the one who countless trillions of universes is sprung from his consciousness. He's now crawling on the floor in Nanda's house, Nanda's courtyard, right? So these simple scenes of a little boy knocking down some trees, or some trees falling on a little boy, right? From other observers, it's, oh my God, that little boy almost got hit by trees, right? Without this, maybe. If the scene happened, could have happened in a second. Like, now we're seeing the scene. Like, so much goes into who is this little boy. The fact that he can't be seen, yet they're seeing him.
Right.
That's the point, right? Out of devotion, he can be seen. Therefore, namostubyam, namo namaha, I bow to that supreme being, who can't be known, right? The one who can't be known, I can see, right? That's the mystery of devotion, right? That's the mystery. Bhakti allows you to see the unseeable, to experience that which is. To make the object of the experiencer becomes an object of experience, right? It's a very mysterious thing, right? It's today, maybe yesterday, maybe Haley Goswami quoted. He put some Kabir poem, right? And Kabir very much like to play with that. He says, one of the lines is, I don't know. It's like I can't figure out who's better, right? God or the devotee. Right? Because God is infinite and the devotee is totally finite. You can't get more finite than a human devotee, right? And also probably a devotee is probably the most naive of it's not even the most smart, and the most naive to think that the infinite can crawl around, and is the most foolish person. Yet he can see the infinite crawling around, right? Mother Yashoda could tie up Krishna, right? So that's the mystery of it. So that's why this is not the final verse of the prayer. This is in this section. Next week we'll talk the difference and then he goes into his avatars and some more statements, but this is an important part. Tasmai tubhyam bhagavate vasudevaya vedase. Again, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It's included in this. Tasmai tubhyam bhagavate vasudeva vedase. Therefore we bow to you, that Bhagavate, that Supreme Lord, that lover, that blessed Lord, right? Vasudeva, right? Who's the son of Vasudeva and the all-pervading being. ¿Está bien? Más o menos? Vedase means who's the source of everything. Vasudeva Vedase. So Vedase means the origin or the source or creator. It's one way to say it. How did I put it? The origin, right? Vasudeva Vedase, origin, right? And then it says, Atma Dyota Guna Aisha Gunaisha Chanaha Mahimna Brahmane Namaha. So these words have to be pulled apart. Atma Dyota. Atma means the self, right? Dyota here means like shiny, like the sun. The word for the way to describing the sun, radiant, shining, right? Right. You are Vasudeva. You are the origin, right? Adipurusha, and you are that radiant Atma, the radiant self of all beings, of myself, of the universe, of you're the self, right? But again, she's the self, but we don't see the self, right? That's a problem, right? Yeah, because it says Chana means cover. You're covered, right? By Chana Mahimne. Gunai Chanaha Mahimne. Whose glory, Mahimna, whose glory is covered by the gunas, right? By nature. You are that, so you're a puruṣah. You're the glorious shining puruṣah, but we don't see you because you're covered by prakriti. Right. So the way, so that, again, like that, and then it says, Brahmane Namaha. You are that Brahman, the supreme spiritual entity, that infinite being, right? And so in the Upanishad, it says, Bhumaiva Sukham, right? That only the happiness is only in that infinite one, Bhuma, right? And it says, actually, and in the limited, happiness is only in the limitless one, which here is called Brahman, right? In the Upanishad, his name is Bhuma, right? The large, infinite, the immense, the infinite one, right? And therefore, it says, and I'm forgetting the verse, it's a very simple verse, like I posted it a few days ago. It's been in my mind, but of course, when I'm sitting down, I lost it. I was like, oh, this is, good, easy to memorize. Great, now I forgot it. Right? It says the happiness is only in the infinite. The infinite is, the finite does not bring happiness. Happiness can't be found in the finite. Infinite is itself only bliss, not happiness, bliss, right? Sukham. And then it says, therefore, right, try to want the infinite, Brahman, right? But the thing is, try to want the infinite, try to want Brahman. It's not a thing to want. It's not an object or a person to want. That's the thing, right? But we can, the infinite can be known, right? And actually, that's the thing, that, and the fact that, like, for instance, if that statement is true, happiness is only in the infinite, in the finite there's no happiness. Yet we're happy sometimes, right? Right? I'm happy. Daya's making wicks, right? So we get, so even in finite things there seems to be some happiness. But the statement, the conclusive statement of the Upanishad is that there's no happiness in the finite, even in Daya making wicks.
It's temporary.
It's temporary. It's right. But so that's right. It shouldn't be. It's temporary happiness, but it shouldn't be any happiness, right? That means that happiness is coming from the self, right? That prakriti can't give happiness. Happiness comes from the infinite, right? The details, the temporary chances in the vibrations of prakriti, we get a little bit. We get something. Oh, that tastes good, or that. Oh, that feels good, or whatever it is. We get some happiness. But where that happens, coming from the infinite. So that's proof, right? The observer is the source. That it can, so therefore we should want to know the knower. We should want to know the infinite. We should want to, another way in devotion land, we should want God, right? But how to have God is the question. So that's the mystery of the whole Bhagavatam. The whole mystery of spiritual life is that the infinite, although inconceivable, unexperienceable, unthinkable, right, can be experienced, can be thought, can be conceived, right? This is the mystery of devotion. This is the whole, and therefore in the Bhagavatam it holds the highest, above philosophy, above Sankhya, above Vedanta, above Tantra, above everything is bhakti, right? Because this is not even a philosophy. We call it Bhagavad Dharma. The devotion. It's a wrong term. Our philosophy is very good. Not philosophy, right? There's smart people that described the details of it. Right, but that's a different. That's the exact opposite. Yashoda didn't give a talk on different steps on the different stages of bhava and things like this. Right? She she loved Krishna and the infant and so that's a very this is a very Sri Ramakrishna said that to the idea that what's greater, God or the devotee. He says that that while God is within God, the entire universe exists. But it seems, right, from our perspective, and what it seems to us is that devotees hold God in their heart, right, or devotees. So that's very so that infinite God is held in the devotee's heart, right. And of course, that's a poetic thing to say, but it's also an actual thing to say. Right? Of course, maybe not the whole God, but I think the yogi that it may be sufficient. Maybe not, there's no whole or parts. God's living room. Yeah, Thakur said the heart of the devotee is his living room. Right. Well, God's everywhere, but actually he prefers. Right. And so this is another part of the Bhagavatam. And Sri Ramakrishna would say Bhagavata Bhakta Bhagavan. Right. He said that it came from a vision it started from a visionary experience. He was in front of the Radhakrishna temple in Radhakanta temple in Dakshineshwar, and there was a lady chanting Bhagavan, reciting Bhagavad Parayana, chanting verses like this, common sadhana like we're doing, but he was just reciting. And I think if I right, a light came from the image of Krishna, right, and touched the book Bhagavat, and then touched the heart of that lady, right, and he through that vision he had a revelation, right, which fits. This is Bhagavata Bhakta Bhagavan, right, that the Bhagavata, the text, the revelation, the teachings, the lila, Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, and the Bhakta, they're not different. It's not saying the Bhagavatam here, these 4 verses of the Bhagavatam created is God, but it's not different from God, right? And the devotee definitely isn't God, right? But it's also not different from God. There's a great mystery, right? And therefore the Bhagavatam, this is one of the books you worship, right? And devotee also we worship, right? Of course it has to be according to proper bhava, not an embarrassment or ego to come like that. So you respect all devotees, and according to seniority, there's always appropriate ways of dealing with the devotee. But actually, Bhagavan's in everyone. But what's God's in everyone? Everyone's in God. That's true. But a devotee is different. A devotee can experience, hold and think, and even talk in an intimate way with something infinite. Right. It's not in a general way all beings are gods in everyone's heart. That's true. As Paramatman, as the Atman, we can say it like that. It's a good thing to think. Everybody you meet, the one I'm worshiping, the one I'm thinking about is in everybody. That's a good start, right? But this is not what's meant. The devotee is something unique. The devotee who can even to say God's name, and within God's name, the full God is present. Right? To someone who says God's name, that means God's name is greater than God. The scriptures that say it like that. But the one who says God's name, of course, they can't think, I'm greater than the name. But in bhava, in emotion, you can actually see that they're even greater still. Right. Very mysterious. So, anyways, this is where we'll stop here. Are there any questions or comments or vehement disagreements? Vehement disagreements. Post it online and good as the season, Janmashtami season, and Radhastami is coming next month. That's good. So these verses you can keep. Also, if you think, you can see the verses are very simple, right? But they're simple to recite, but they're very they have a lot of philosophy in them. But and we're talking to Devi Bhagavatam last couple of weeks, that when the Devas had an experience of that infinite consciousness as a Devi, not knowing what to say, they recited verses that they already knew, right? Same thing happened with Gajendra. Gajendra in the elephant body, and he was attacked by that crocodile. You read that story over many months, right? What did he do? Somewhere deep in his mind was a memory of a mantra, his old mantra, right? And that came back to his mind, right? And so, but within that, everything came out, So there's also a good practice of studying and reciting and keeping these ideas rotating in the mind, because maybe many lives later, right, that will come. You know, like Gajendra was a previous, like he was a rishi and then he ended up as an elephant. I mean, that was a normal, like wasn't an upward trajectory, right? But that the sadhana of his past, Krishna says sadhana is never lost, right? Their spiritual advancements never lost. We can lose it, but it's always, we can forget to look for it, but it's still always there. And yeah, so Gajendra.
So we're still on, I mean, this didn't conclude chapter 10. Right?
No, it's just chapter, I'm not sure how far I go that in.
Yeah.
And he worked on these verses today. But it goes, what I think I remember right now, the rest of the prayers is probably another 10 verses of the prayer, maybe. And then commentator, the narrator speaks a little bit, and then Krishna gives some ruins and some descriptions to them. So it's very, very nice. And then the next childhood catastrophe, that's really a great mystery, the great miracle, the great metaphor, and the great revelation.
What's that?
I don't know. We'll see.
I
I forget.
What it was.
Because my problem is usually I have these things going in my mind, but my mind sometimes
There's so
goes in
many
different
of
sorts.
them.
There's so many. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Ma. Can you push the button?
Finish.